crafty friends. How are you? This is Diane, the Creative Inkster. It is Monday, December 19th, and time for a creative escape. Have you been bustling and hustling around getting things ready for the holidays? I know I have, here and there, and shopping and wrapping and card sending. Lots of stuff going on. And so it's time to take a pause, take a moment, and just enjoy your craft room. Enjoy whatever the craft space is that you have. It could be a box, it could be a room, it could be envelopes, it could be anything. But let's take a moment just to make something creative. So tonight's card layout is inspired by this swap card that I received. And I'm afraid that I have lost the name of the person who sent it to me. And for that, I am deeply sorry. If it's yours, tell me. Okay, that's good. I'm not going to be offended at all. So this is Blushing Bride, and it is a card base that's a little bit smaller than the standard. So it goes from here to here. It measures 7 3/4. Is that what I did? No, I did 7 1/2. So, close enough. And then there's this layer, which is tone on tone. It's also Blushing Bride. It was stamped and then embossed and put on. And so I'm going to try to replicate that idea. There's a strip of pattern paper in here for good measure. And then this person had die cut this beautiful flower spray out of the matching paper from framed florets. And I'm not doing that. Instead, my focal point is going to be a circular or any other shape that you want to put on the front. So let's get moving. Hi, how are you? Snowy West Coast. Oh my goodness, you poor things. We have a fair bit here, but we're expected to have that in Ontario, even southern Ontario. Oh well, hunker down and stay warm. That's all I got to say. So this card is the one that I did ahead of time. And you're probably going, what are those funky things on there? Well, those are carrots. This is a stamp set from Celebration. That's our big sale thing that happens in the new year. I'm just reaching over here to see if I can find the actual stamp set. It's called Thanks a Bunch. And it has large, medium, and then a 3 bunch of little carrots there and a leaf and this kind of leaf here reminds me of celery leaves. And then it's a 2-step stamp. So you would stamp this part of the carrot and then this other piece a little darker or in a different shade. And then that will give you the lines on your carrot and just give it a little bit more depth. But look at all the greetings. This is 19 stamps in here. This is a good one. And I never thought I'd have fun with a carrot one, but totally. So here is at least one of the 2 or 3 I made 3 cards with this. So I'm going to replicate it, but with another Celebration choice, because I really want you to see this stuff. So Celebration are stamp sets, papers, and such that with your minimum $60 or $120 purchase, there are items that you can select for free. So it's a great time between January 5th and February 28th, 2023 to make that purchase of whatever you want and then get something for free. All right, so I'm going to feature tonight, though, the adorable owl. So you may have seen this out there. This is a Celebration choice, and I have my pre-order, so that's how I have mine. And then people who posted it earlier in November, they had attended the onstage, so they had a chance to order some stuff earlier. So we're going to use this. This has 6 stamps, but 3 stinking adorable owls, aptly named, and then 3 greetings. So let's get our supplies out that we need for this. And I have die cut my circles to replicate that already just to save a little time. So here's my card base. It is, as I was mentioning, I made mine 7 1/2 by 5 1/2. And we're going to score it at 4 1/4 like we would normally. So here we go. I would have to really think that through because normally it's 8 1/2, right? And so it's 7 1/2, and we're still going to score it at 4 1/4, so we get the same kind of fold over that we would normally have. And then we can, so it's the same size as this card, sorry, as the sample one that I received. It's just, I have mine just a little bit different width over here. And it took me a little while to figure that out, but yeah, there you go. Hi, Brenda. Okay, so here's our card base. This is beautiful Coastal Cabana. And then I'm going to need a couple of pieces. I'm going to need a white on the inside. Wouldn't have to be. I mean, if I used white as my card base, well, then I would use a different color on the inside. And I'm leaving a little wee border all the way around. And then this paper is, as well as the one on this carrot card, a new celebration choice. When you spend $120, you get a paper pack of 48 sheets of this stuff, and it's called, oh, I don't think I'm allowed to show you the inside of the catalogs yet, because it's still in pre-order, but it's called, I can tell you what it's called. It's called Dandy Designs, and it's 48 sheets, free paper, and if you're my customer, well, you probably already have your catalog, so you've seen it. There we go. And if you need a catalog, you don't have a demonstrator, you're not a demonstrator, and you'd like a catalog, reach out. Okay, we have serious dog hair happening here. I don't know how. The dog isn't down here. Very strange. Very strange happenings in my house. All right, so we're going to stick this down on the right inside, and we're leaving a usual little wee border around, like we do with a full layer. There we go. And then we're going to put a piece of white inside. We're going to line it up against the patterned paper. I mean, I could have made the patterned paper a little wider. This is 1 inch, and then overlapped it, but I'm just going to do that. A 1 inch off the end of a 12 by 12 is a pretty good measurement off, because then you've got enough to do some nice layers with. It's not like when you cut out a weird amount like 1.5 or 1 1/4, even 1 3/4, it's like you've got this waste piece to deal with. Okay, there we go. So there's our white and our pattern, and just the way this is lined up, when the card is closed, you just see the pattern paper through there, which is kind of pretty. And then we're going to stamp on this other piece of white. It's 3 inches by 5 1/4. And then I had 3 layers to mimic the ones I've got here. So one is the pattern paper, and I suggested doing them 2.5 inches square. So one's the pattern, one is the a fresh freesia, which is the purple that's in there, and then a piece of white to do the stamping on. And I've already die cut mine into circles. So these two are from the Layering Circles set, and this one with the stitching on it, this one is from, I'm going to pull it up so you can see that a little better. It's got stitching around it. It's from a set called Stylish Shapes. I like those a lot. And so you could use squares, you could use triangles, you could use just cut in a rectangle, whatever you want to put on there. I just chose to go with circles because I was using the circle paper and it kind of went together, right? So, all right, so I'm going to put those on eventually. Alrighty, so let's do some stamping. We need some scratch paper underneath us here because I don't want to mess up my nice white piece. And I'm going to use, I've got a lot of choices. The flying one, I'm going to put, they're all pretty big. So they're all a fairly decent size. But if I wanted to do some coloring, I might want to use this one. Oopsie. Hello. There we go. Let's use this one because then I can color that bow tie a little bit. So let's find a block. And I'm going to stamp this in Smoky Slate. Now, normally when I color in with my Stampin' Blends, I use a Tuxedo Black Memento ink. But once in a while, you can use something else. And the reason for that is I want this to be a bit softer. I don't want a hugely dark, black, crisp, beautifully image. I want something that's a little more muted. So I'm going to take my little test run there. So I've got good ink coverage on that. And I'm not going to put them fully on anywhere, nor am I going to, I want to fill the page, but I don't want them to be in the same orientation all the way around. I don't want to be upside down, but I just want to kind of put them all over like that. Okay, so let's get the scratch paper out of the way, and then you can see how I've just stamped him in a collage fashion all the way around. And I was going to put one on here, but I think I'm going to get my greeting on the circle. So we will leave that for now, and we'll clean up this stamping. I like to stamp off on my scratch paper a few times, and then when I go to clean it on my Simply, whatever this is called, this this cleaning pad, goodness me, then I don't have tons of ink going in there. All right, so we're going to do a little coloring. There it is. Okay, we're going to do a little coloring, and I'm going to start with my smoky slate gray, and I'm actually going to figure out where I want my circles to land, because I'm not going to color every single dude. I think I'm going to color the neckties and maybe one of them. You know, just so it's not all uniformly colored all over, just to go for something a little bit different. Yeah. I'm going to go with that. So how is this going to look? I got to look up. Maybe there's comments. Maybe there's inspiration. Yeah. You know what? I just got to color them. All right, let's color you in. So this is light, right? Yeah. Good choice, Diane. Color in. Which is very relaxing. Doesn't take a lot of effort. You could use Stampin' Blends. You could use coloring pencils, watercolor pencils, chalks. There's Stampin' Write markers. There's like lots of mediums, lots of choices. So you do what feels right for you. I like the feel of the blends. I love how smoothly they cover the paper, and it's really effortless. And you can use the brush end of these, and I recommend people use it with a gentle touch. It is a brush tip end, and you don't want to be pressing straight down because you'll definitely wear out the brush end of the nib. It's not replaceable, so you want to keep that in mind. And I mean, some of these I've had forever. The ones I use all the time I've replaced, like Daffodil Delight and Old Olive, because those are like my go-to colors. The other go-to color, I mean, if we had Pear Pizzazz, that would be one of them, but we don't. It doesn't come in that color, but it comes in Flirty Flamingo, and that's the pink I probably have used the most. So those are the ones that I've replaced over the years of having them. But these other ones, they really last and last. So let me just see. I want to do this part. I don't want to get talking and then muck it up. But it's fairly relaxing to just do some coloring and to enjoy the moment, because it's a busy time of year. It's a bit of a stressful time of year for some, but it's a busy time of year where we're out and about and doing things. I had my class in Elmira today, and I had lunch out with a friend. So I was out and about doing different things, and I'm having lunch tomorrow out with some former co-workers when I used to work at the hospital. So it'll be nice to get together and hang out and have lunch. We're going to a place called Angel's Diner, which I think is it's here in Guelph, but I think it's a chain, because I think they have these diners in other cities. and they have the best Montreal smoked meat this side of the Ontario-Quebec border, and it's just yummy. So I may have that. I may have fish and chips. I don't know. Today I had wings. I went to Wild Wing, and I have to say that was pretty amazing wings today. All right, so that's given a little bit of life to my owls. Now I want to color in the necktie. So I'm going to use fresh freesia and do the neckties. And then the bow part, I'm going to do that in Bermuda Bay Light. Now we don't have we don't have Coastal Cabana as a Stampin' Blend, but I have to tell you, it's very similar because the light and the dark are going to have different shadings, right? So it's almost like, even though you get two markers, one's a light and one's a dark of the same tone, there can be vastly different. I mean, not on the neutrals, when you've got your gray is a gray, a beige is a beige, that kind of thing. But in these other colors, pinks and purples and blues and greens, you actually get a bunch of different looks. So I'm going to use Bermuda Bay Light as Coastal Cabana, and I think because it's far enough away from the cardstock that it's going to work out just swimmingly. So that's light, Bermuda Bay. And I'm using the bullet end on this. So you see that? It's pretty close. Like, no one's going to look that closely and say, ah, she didn't use a matching color. So let's get these little knots here on the bow ties colored in. It's just gonna, this little pop of color is gonna come right out once the pattern paper's on it. One of the other things that the original one had was embossing on this layer, and when I did my carrot card, I ran that through with an embossing folder as well. I'm not going to do it tonight just so as to not step away, but that's definitely something that could be done, and it adds a sense of quilting to the layer. Now it depends on how tight of a pattern you use. This one I use the Time Worn, which has some open spaces. That's the same one that the person here had used. But if you use something like our new Candy Cane, Cane Weave, which is a brand new embossing folder, something tight like that, you'll see more of a look like it is quilted. So that's going to glue down there. But before I do that, I'm going to get my stamping done on my layers. So here on the white circle, let's see, what should we use? I brought over these colors. Why Granny Apple Green? Oh, I know, because Granny Apple Green's in the paper. But I think I'm going to use fresh freesia. And I have a circle. Excuse me. So I can put a bunch of different things. Let's see. Hoot Hoot, you're so cute, can go there. I had the idea that if I had the eyes sticking up, let's get the owl out again. Let's just do this on the scratch paper and see how it turns out. I had this idea that if the owl was there and his eyes were part of the stamped, I could put something on the bottom. Well, let's try that. We can always flip it over and change it up, right? Nothing is done forever. So let's try Smoky Slate. And, oh, I only wanted to do part of his face, though. So we need a little Post-it note. So this is masking. You do have masking paper, but I happen to have Post-it notes sitting right close here. Let me clean this off again. Okay, and make sure that it's clean. Okay, so we're going to mask this so that I only get the face and the eyes. All right. So what's going to be stamped is what's above the Post-it note. Ooh. So then I tap into my ink pad, and you'll see I'm going to have some marks on my Post-it note. I'm just going to remove the Post-it note, and now I'm going to stamp it on the circle. Oop, let's see how that turned out. Oh, it's cute! Okay, so there we go. I got like part of the owl. So now I'll probably need a smaller greeting to fit underneath. And this one in the set says, "It's your day." So let's try and put that one. I bet one of these different ideas work out so nicely. I'm going to put "It's your day" underneath there. Hopefully that's going to fit okay. Let me just take a dry run on my greeting. There we go. It's your day. Perfect. Now, if it didn't turn out, particularly didn't turn out, what I could do is stamp it on white, cut it out, and pop it up. So that's another option. If you go to do something and it doesn't work out, like, don't waste it. You can definitely do that. See? That's so cute. All right, let's get this glued down. And a little popping up too. So we'll put the white on the fresh freesia, and then the fresh freesia onto the pattern paper, and then we're going to pop it up on the card. So the piece that I cut out of the paper has a few of the purple dots showing, but not quite as much, and it's going to be mostly covered anyway, but it's just to kind of get that, pull that color in. That's cute. I like it. Now, a word about when you're using Stampin' Blends on white paper. This is the back side, so it does bleed through. That's normal. Okay, so don't worry about that. You just want to make sure that it's a layer when you're putting the white down, and it's not just your card front, because then you'd see it through here. All right. Oops. Hello, you. And let's pop you up here. I feel like it needs just a little bit more of a layer. I'm looking in my scraps for Coastal Cabana and seeing, do I have another circle that will work? These are all my scraps. Let's see here. How big is that stitched circle that's hiding in there? Oh, it's an oval. Okay. I just feel like it needs something. I feel like it's otherwise going to get lost in the back there. So let me just pop over to the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and do another circle that's just a little bigger. Bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves. So good that it's all so close at hand that we can do that. Oh, it was exactly the same size. Well, would you look at that? Okay, let's work with that. We have two circles of the same size. I'm going to hide a little bit. I just really totally feel like this needs something. Okay, let's do this. Because nothing is cast in stone. If you don't like it, you can cut it off. But much like when we do a layer with a stamped layer and we want to extend, this will look a little bit like, Funhouse sort of warped, like it was not really supposed to be a circle. And we'll just add this circle piece here. And it just, I think that helps so much, takes a little bit of the color. All right, so we want to pop this guy up too, though. I need to get some more regular dimensionals. I have my last little bit till my next order comes of the minis on the go here. There we go. Now, I'm hoping to have a Wednesday idea for you. I hope you'll be back to watch. I know lots of people catch this on the replay, or they're lurkers. That's okay too. All right, and then I'm going to add a little bit of color here. Are you using light? Yes, you're using light. Ooh, she's very brave to go on something that's already stamped and glued down, right? That's okay. I'm sure that whoever receives this will just be thrilled to receive it and not critique it. There we go. Just adds that little bit. And I don't know, it's probably anatomically incorrect to have a purple nose, but we're going to add a little purple nose anyway. All right, and then in my stash I have these pearls. They're pastel pearls, and they come in a kind of a gray, the pink, and a light pink, and then this fresh freesia color. So I just kind of wanted to sprinkle these guys around. I know that they're they're of course circular, and so they add a little bit to this whole motif. Just to kind of fill in the spots a little bit as well. I have lots of these, so quite happy to fill them in a little bit. That one looks like Rogue. Hang on. There we go. Let's put one down here. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And maybe one up here. Okay, that might be a lot, but that's okay. You get the idea. So there's our cute little card. Very simple. Fits in a regular envelope. There's the original inspiration. And then the one that I did that with the carrots. All right, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will see you next time. Bye.